We're looking at equivalent fraction using division. So equivalent fraction using division is also known as simplifying a fraction. So let's start with the idea of simplifying the fraction. Simplifying a fraction means making its numerator and denominator as small as possible while keeping the value same. For example, 2 by 4 can be written as 1 by 2, and 1 by 2 is a simpler form of 2 by 4. The alternative name for simplifying a fraction is simplest form, reducing the fraction, or lowest terms. And as a definition, we have a fraction is in its lowest form or simplified form or lowest term when the numerator and denominator has no common factor other than 1. Right? For example, 2 by 4 is equal to 1 by 2, and the HCF, the highest number that can divide both 1 and 2, is 1. So this is said to be in, so 1 by 2 is in simplest form. Okay, so that's simplest form. Now, how do we actually go on finding the simplest form? It's quite simple. All we have to do is find the HCF of the numerator and denominator and divide both the numerator and denominator with that HCF. If you have used common factor, then we will have to repeat until no common factor remains. So this I'll explain. If I just use a common factor, any common factor. So this I'll explain. Okay, so let me take up this example. 12 by 8. The greatest common factor of 12 and 8 is 6. 12 and 18 is 6, sorry. 12 and 18 is 6. So the next step is to divide both the number, that is 12 and 18, that is the numerator and denominator, with 6. So 12 divided by 6 is 2, 18 divided by 6 is 3. And so 12 by 18 can be written as 2 by 3. And when we look at 2 by 3, there is no other common factor other than 1. So 2 by 3 is the simplest form. So let me actually not take this. Now it's not the right time to pick up that. I want to explain step 3. So let me take up an example for step 3, the same example actually. 12 by 18. So instead of dividing with, say, 6, I can also divide with 2. I'm going to divide both the numerator and denominator with 2. And I'll end up with 12 divided by 2 is 6, 18 divided by 2 is 9. And further, okay, 6 by 9, I'm going to divide 6 and 9 with, say, 3, because 6 and 9 can be divided with 3. Why not, right? So 6 divided by 3 is 2 and 9 divided by 3 is 3. And see, we can end up with the same answer. Here I use the common factor concept. So 2 is a common factor between 6 and 18. So common factor of 12, not 6 and 18, 12 and 18 is 2. A common factor. And a common factor, let me actually use this layer. A common factor of 12 and 18 is 2. Here, a common factor of 6 and 9 is 3. So we're just going with common factor. So if you don't want to take up finding the HCF and, in this case, GCF is what I've written. So this is same as HCF. So instead of finding the HCF, if we just want to go with common factor, we can do that as well. So let's practice one more question. For me, finding the HCF and doing it, it's a bit too lengthy. I generally like to go with common factor. So let me explain this step by step. See guys, I can find the equivalent fraction even with multiplication. But we can also use division. Okay. So first thing is, I'm going to write common factor as CM. So common factor of 36 and 63 is what I think I can go with 6. Right, 6 can clearly, or let me go with 2. These two are even numbers, so I can go with 2. So what will I do is, I'll divide both the numerator and denominator with 2. This is 15 and this is 18. Next, I will go with common factor of 15 and 18, which is 3 can divide 15 and 18. So let me go with 3. So 15 divided by 18, both the numerator and denominator, and dividing with 3. And so I'll end up with 5 by, this is 6. So we ended up with 5 by 6, and the common factor of 5 and 6 is 1. And so it stops over here. Stop. So we basically have 30 by 36 is equal to 5 by 6. And 5 by 6 is simplest form. Okay. So in this video, we got introduced to figuring out equivalent fraction using the process of division. So to take up, to simplify is to find equivalent fraction using division. Also, we can call it as reduced fraction, also lowest terms. So 2 by 4, the lowest term is 1 by 2. The lowest form is 1 by 2. How did we get that? We divided with 2 with both the numerator and denominator. When it comes to 12 by 18, I can directly go with dividing with 6, or I can take 2 steps and divide with 2 first time and 3 the second time. So remember, we are in continuation, we are using the, we are making use of the numbers. So for example, over here, 30 by 36, I used it once, and I carried over 15 and 18 to the next simplification. Okay. So basically, honestly, 30 by 36 is also equal to 15 by 18, which is also equal to 5 by 6. Okay. So this is a small note. So if I take up 5 by 6 and multiply with 3, I end up with this particular fraction. And if I multiply this particular, that is 15 by 18 with 2, I end up with 30 by 36. So same thing the other way around. If I divide with 2, I end up with this number. If I divide with 3, I end up with this number. And that's that. Yeah.